This podcast is brought to you by Legend Comics and Coffee in Omaha, Nebraska, located in scenic downtown Benson. They got a new location. It's absolutely gorgeous. Check it out. And by listeners like you. Go to Patreon/Two-Headed Nerd. Become a patron. Support this show.
Once, they were two best friends managing a comic book store. But when an innocent blood oath went wrong, the two found themselves trapped in the same body, imprisoned in a strange pyramid made of long boxes, buried deep below their hometown, where they are doomed to discuss comic books until the end of time. They were once Joe and Matt. Now they are known as the Two-Headed Nerd. And this is their podcast.
Broadcasting from the Ziggurat at Omaha in caverns deep below the metro area. It's our pleasure to welcome you to episode 787 of the Two-Headed Nerd Comic Book Podcast. I'm your head number one. My name is Matt Baum. Joe, this week, James Gunn called his shot. Superman 2 in theaters, July 2027. Are you worried? The super sequel has trouble competing with Bad Fairies, an animated film about fairies that break all the rules. Also slated for July 2027.
I'm the Internet's Joe Patrick, your head number two, and the crossover audience could be an issue there.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's
Bad Fairies, dude.
I mean, it's time for another new comic show where we'll review 8 comics from the past 2 new comic book days. After that, we'll set you up with our must-read new comic picks for next week.
In this episode, TMNT baddie Shredder finally gets his spotlight. James Tynion IV writes a Universal monster that's really hard to see. Ewing and Pasqual Ferry tell the story of Thor now that he's just some dude. Matt Fraction starts Batman all over the new #1, and J.M. DeMatteis takes Spidey back to 1994 and more. It's all happening now because it's review time in the Ziggurat.
Before we get accused of breaking any fairy rules, let's explain how our rating system works. Each comic we review is rated using our 3-point scale of buy it, skim it, or leave it. Then we pick the best comic we reviewed to enter the THN permanent collection. Everybody knows that fairy rating rules are much more complicated.
They're extremely strict and multifaceted.
Macho, prepare the Ziggurat defenses just in case the fairies do show up, and fetch us our review comics.
Fairy rules are both rigid and very real, sirs. Tread lightly. Here are your review comics for the week of Wednesday, the 27th of August.
We begin with Universal Monsters, The Invisible Man, #1 of 4 from Image Comics, written by James Tynion IV. Art and main cover by Danny. It's just Danny. Colors by Brad Simpson. And letters by Becca Carey. It's 32 pages for $3.99. I don't really think we need a solicit. Here's the deal. If you've been paying attention, you've noticed that Image and Skybound, specifically, have been doing these Universal Monsters comic book adaptations. Sort of, not necessarily bringing them up to date, but just bringing them back to comics, I guess. And so far, we've really liked them. And I got to say, The Invisible Man has to be the hardest one to write and make interesting. Frankenstein, Dracula, give me a break. Even The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Very easy stuff to work with and make compelling. Here, Tynion is very subtle with his storytelling. Jack, our main character, has sociopathic tendencies. He illustrates this really well by using a little art trick that Danny's doing, where ever you see Jack like zoomed in and thinking about something, the colors kind of turn red behind him and the inks get really deep. And there's like a scene where he's squeezing a rat that he's been injecting with this monocaine serum that's going to make him turn invisible. The rat is slowly turning invisible as well, but it also makes the rat smarter. So it's not so much I want to be invisible as it is playing on Jack's feelings that he is a brilliant scientist. Everyone around him is kind of a moron. Oh, and by the way, this serum that I'm messing with turns things invisible. Could probably use that to my advantage too. The lettering here is great. Becca Carey did a wonderful job on the sort of narration panels. They're all kind of, I don't know what font this is. I called it Desdemona, but I don't think that's what it is.
It's not really like I'm sure it's not. I mean, maybe it's a font that you can identify, but
yeah,
most comic book letterers are not using something that you can find easily on Google.
No, this isn't like the Ryan Gosling Avatar sketch from Saturday Night Live where they just selected the papyrus font and wrote Avatar. But it looks really good and it gives it an old timey feel. Danny's art is real scratchy and there's a lot of stuff that's implied. But when we start to get into the horror of the story, it gets very bold and very dark. And the two just work so well together. Again, it's easy to dismiss a character like the Invisible Man, but the story is not just a guy that turned invisible. The story is the monster was there to begin with, and he's a brilliant scientist, and he discovers something that can make him invisible, and that leads to chaos and eventually murder. This was fantastic, and it's been right up there, just as good, if not better than some of the other Universal monsters. I might rank this as second behind Dracula so far for number ones that I've read. I loved this, and Danny is a wonderful art talent. The two come together to tell a truly compelling story for this character set in old times. You know, this is 30s, probably maybe late 30s, early 40s at the latest. Man, this story is creepy as hell. Loved it. Giving it a huge buy it.
The draw for me is primarily the art. It's not that the story is not good, not that Tynion isn't a great writer. He is, but Danny is such a huge talent, and she incorporates the concept of the story into her art.
Yeah.
Meaning that, like, oftentimes, even before you ever see Jack take a sip of serum, and in fact, like, spoiler alert, you don't ever see him take a sip of serum in this issue.
We're getting there, I think.
We'll get there, but right now he hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Right.
Even when you see him and he's having a dark thought or daydreaming about murdering a colleague or, you know, whatever, parts of him will be obscured in heavy shadow, or he'll be shown just in like silhouette. And so he's invisible already in a certain way of thinking. And it's so effective that, like, once he is literally invisible, all of these things that are on the inside are going to be able to come out without consequence.
Yeah.
It's incredible. This is a buy it from me. The art, I can't overstate how beautiful the book is. Danny is a phenomenal talent, and she needs to draw more stuff.
Definitely. There's like Frank Miller in his prime level stuff here. The scene where he discovers what the rat he's been testing on has done to the other rats is just truly chilling. This is great stuff.
While we're on the subject of bad guys, let's get into my first review, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder, number 1. Not Shredder. That would be a totally...
Yeah, that'd be disgusting.
Not a colon Shredder. That would be a totally different kind of comic.
Different comic.
It's from IDW. It's written by Dan Waters with art by Michelle Bandini, colors by Marco Lesko, letters and design by Darren Robinson, cover by Mateus Santaluoco. Sorry, Mateus.
Yeah, that's
35. It's 36 pages for $4.99, which is a weird number, and that number comes up twice in this episode. 36-page comic.
Weird. Like they fought for that for that extra page or something.
I don't know. I mean, what? It's cool. If extra page is great. I'll read a little part of the solicit here. Returned forever changed by a maddening ordeal beyond imagining, the Shredder is a man out of time, betrayed by all around him, without the Foot Clan, and quite possibly insane. When one of his former Foot prodigies forms their own rival clan with infernal designs on New York, A recovering Shredder must quest deep into the criminal underworld, where enemies both old and new will discover what defiance will bring them at the end of the Shredder's blades.
I said he bad. He real bad.
He real bad. As I've said many times on the show, I didn't follow IDW's TMNT series prior to the Jason Aaron relaunch. You know, we read issues here and there. We always liked it. I just never, I always meant to go back to it and never did. So there's obviously a lot of backstory that I missed here, but Waters does a pretty good job filling in those blanks. Reading the solicit helps a lot too. So, you know, I guess you're welcome. The gist is this, basically. Shredder has been out of the picture for a long time, either presumed dead or actually dead. I'm not quite sure. Maybe both. Now he's back and he does not like what he sees, but Shredder is not necessarily the scariest dude on the block anymore, and that is a problem. The second the guy wanders his way into the boarded up Foot Clan headquarters, or the bastardized Foot Clan headquarters, he gets his ass whipped. Waters is tearing Shredder down to basics here because he is still obviously very damaged by whatever it was that he went through. He's like having visions of like worms crawling on and through people. It's gross.
Yeah, there's some nightmare thing going on.
I don't know if he was in hell, but at some point it looked like he was on an alien planet in the flashback. I don't really know. Somebody who reads TMNT will know. What I'm saying is that you don't need to necessarily know the specifics to enjoy and understand what's going on here. The Earth Protection Force, which I'm guessing is like S.H.I.E.L.D., wants to use Shredder to take down this death cult, which is led by his old apprentice. And there's this great scene at the end where they're like, all right, now that you're on the case, here's this stuff we've prepared for you. And Shredder does not give a shit. He is not interested in their bells and whistles. He tears it all apart. And at the end, you see the stripped down, badass, scary as hell Shredder return to his form. The art by Michelle Bandini, awesome. Very, very strong here. Definitely a very heavy anime influence. Yeah. You can tell in the fight choreography and the paneling. Like there's a lot of like panels cut away to a bloody swoosh or just like a broken board. And I've seen that a lot in Japanese anime cartoons where it's, you know, somebody swings a sword and then you don't actually see the sword go through the person. You just see like a red swipe
a hint
across the screen.
A hint of the sword.
That final splash page showing a reborn Shredder is awesome. I'm on board for this. I did not know what Shredder went through, but it was clear enough from this story. Waters is a strong enough writer that he was able to carry me along, and now I'm invested. This is a buy it from me. I thought it was great.
I really like this too. And like you said, you don't need to know much. They hint at enough to make it mysterious if you don't know. So you want to figure it out. That panel where we do see him, he's obviously on some kind of alien planet. There's two suns in the background. Yeah. All beat up, you know.
Or another dimension. Like maybe he's in the Krang dimension. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, but I mean, probably the Krang dimension. If they know what they're doing, it's the Krang dimension here, right? But this was great. And Bandini keeps getting better every time I see his work. I really liked the way this looked. I like the statement that they made where they could have given us a new and improved Cyber Shredder. And he's like, nah, that's stupid. I'm not doing that.
I know. It's like he took one look at that TMNT like 2 Secret of the Ooze looking Shredder thing. And he was like, fuck that noise.
Yeah. It's like, no, screw your stupid toys. I get it. This is for the toy line. Yeah. I'm not doing it. But this is great. And it's cool that they are, I mean, he's still a villain. They're building on that.
Oh, yeah. No, he's not.
But he went through some shit and we're learning a story about the person Shredder. I'm into it. I'm giving this a buy it. I think the only problem this comic book has is it will be compared to Jason Aaron's TMNT. And that's not this comic's fault. And that's not even what this comic's doing. So stop it.
I mean, I think if you want to be a jerk and compare the two, you can. But this comic is not about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's about Shredder.
Right. And IDW said, we're going to keep telling stories that harkened back to the old continuity. That's what they're doing. So
yeah, like
everyone
the Mutant Nation book is going right now is chock full of those other mutant characters that they created.
This is great
in
stuff.
That past volume.
IDW doing a wonderful job with all their TMNT. One comic that isn't afraid to go Super Sentai is Immortal Legend Batman #1 from DC Elseworlds. It's written by Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom. Matt Groom's name from the massive verse that Kyle Higgins created over at Image. He most recently worked on Inferno Girl over there. Art by Erica D'Urso and Dan Mora. Colors by Igor Monte and Tamara Bonvillain. Letters by Becca Carey. Main cover by Dan Mora. It's 40 pages for $3.99. There are 2 stories in this book. That's why I keep saying and, right? The first story is Matt Groom and Erica D'Urso. Kyle Higgins co-wrote that, but then Higgins and Mora write the second story. So kind of got to do a solicit here because it's an Elseworlds and you're not going to know the setup if we don't. Humanity broke the barrier between our universe and our universe's shadow. From the void came horrific apparitions that craved nothing but destruction. But from this terror, a legend was born. A warrior who found a way to access the energy that binds our universe and the shadow universe, transforming him into a cosmic dark knight. This immortal legend was named Batman. He fought to keep us safe, but then one day abandoned the war. Though he didn't disappear entirely, now they say he hunts a rogues gallery of monsters born from the shadows. So the guy that brought you the massive verse, which if you don't know, is basically an adult Power Rangers kind of updated story. Super Sentai means people that gain access to a costume or robot suit that has superpowers, and there's usually some kind of prophecy behind it or something like that, right?
Through the power of transformation, they become heroes.
Yes, exactly.
Real quick time out. How did you come to the knowledge of how the labor was divided? Like, obviously, Dan Mora draws the backup story and Erica D'Urso draws the first story, but there's nothing on the title page.
There's nothing in the title page that tells you. You have to go in and read interviews with Kyle Higgins talking about the project.
Gotcha.
Way to go, DC. Right. There's an interesting twist on this first page, and I'm just going to tell you because it's not a spoiler, but when we finally meet this Sentai Batman, who looks really cool in his suit, they did a really nice job on the design. We find out he's looking for Bruce Wayne, which is, whoa, what a twist, right?
Yeah, that was in all the previews that were in last week's
right. And if you're watching this on
Comics 2 weeks ago,
yeah, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see the preview page right here. So from there, we kind of get this Western Super Sentai mashup in space. There's a lot of jargon that's thrown around, like the shadows, which I guess are bad. There's lines like, oh, what's weirder than me being here? An absurd trillionaire moving to a backwater class 5 world. They're calling Batman an immortal legend. There's world building that they're just kind of trying to do in conversation. But if you didn't read the solicit and you don't read the second story first, you won't know what the hell is going on. It's world building, but they don't earn the world building. And ultimately, this first story is just kind of silly. It becomes like, oh, Sheriff Bruce Wayne shows up with Harvey Dent, who I'm not really sure what his job is. And there's another character and they're investigating a murder.
He's the sheriff, isn't he?
No, Bruce Wayne is the sheriff. He's wearing a sheriff band. Like, he is the sheriff. I'm not really sure if Harvey's just
yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
Harv might be a deputy.
I got mixed up by something that happens later in the issue.
Yeah. And it just gets really cartoonish really fast. And you can see the end of the story coming. And there's even like a cartoonish scene where the bad guy, and I'm not going to spoil this, like, is in the middle of a conversation with two people in Batman and walks up and whispers in Batman's ear while he's standing within earshot of the two people like, ha ha ha, I am secretly evil and you figured it out, but I'm going to tell them that you're crazy. I think Batman's crazy. And they're like, he is crazy. Kill him. You're like, okay, what are we doing here? The art is good. Not great. The action looks really good. The bat armor is very cool. They designed the hell out of that. His bat ship kind of looks like a Blue Beetle mobile, but whatever. Batman speaks in these green word balloons that I didn't really like, and it made me think he has kind of like bad breath or something when he's talking. The backgrounds, it's like this is a desert planet, so there really aren't many backgrounds to speak of. The buildings in it are just boxes. It's just kind of generic. You know, the vehicles that whoever this Ada V character is driving is kind of generic. There's some good action scenes, and Batman like does something really cool called a bat press, which is another Super Sentai staple.
Yeah.
Like you have a special move, and
They shout their special moves.
yeah, and it does something very powerful, and it looks really great. The colors are beautiful, but it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. And like suddenly Harvey and this Ada character are falling into a hole that was maybe caused by the bat press, or was the bad guy exploding, or like, I don't really know.
Unclear.
Yeah. And then the story is just over. And then we switch to the next story, drawn by Dan Mora. So it's amazing looking. And Kyle Higgins then lays out the entire premise of this world, this universe, why we have these characters called Immortal, whatever. There's an Immortal Robin. There's an Immortal Batman. There's an Immortal Nightwing. They all have different styles to what they do. It's like, oh, yeah, here is the story. But for some reason, DC decided to print it out of order for no reason I can come up with, other than maybe to confuse the reader. But halfway
because
through,
you don't want anybody to have to follow Dan Mora.
I mean, I guess, but at the same time, halfway through this book, I was ready to go, I'm going to review something else. I don't care about this at all. Then I read the second story and went, oh shit, Kyle Higgins has a really good idea here. This is great. But ultimately, I can only give this book a skim it. Because what the fuck? Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Why did you pace it like this, guys? It doesn't make any sense. You had something really cool. And there's even like a really great twist at the end of this first story that's like, shit, just tell me that story. I don't need the other one at all.
Well, and in fact, my confusion from a few minutes ago was actually a spoiler, and I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. Because the guy running around calling himself Bruce Wayne is not Bruce Wayne. Spoiler alert. The sheriff that admits to being evil straight to Batman's ear is not Bruce Wayne.
He is a mustache twiddling shadow, something that explodes when it gets kicked.
Right.
I guess. I don't know.
And he becomes, and so he becomes a version of a Batman villain. And I won't spoil it further, but. And so I liked that twist where it's like, that can't be Bruce Wayne, you know, and you find out why and yada, yada. I do like the aesthetic of the world where it's this sci-fi world, but everything looks like it's the 50s.
Yeah, it's a Western.
Or Serenity, Firefly. It's like, it's the future, but everybody's a cowboy.
But like outside of
that's what
the way they're dressed, they don't lean into it at all.
They don't lean into it hard enough.
Yeah.
I thought that the lead artist's style was shockingly similar to Scott McDaniel. Yeah. But not as good. Not as appealing.
Yeah, not in a great way.
Yeah, Scott McDaniel, the thing about Scott McDaniel is though his art can be a little obtuse and hard to follow if you're not like used to reading his work on the page, he is an excellent storyteller with years and years of experience.
Yes.
This comic looks confusing, and it is not helped by the fact that the story is told out of order. This is a skim it. It's a great idea on paper. I wish that they had done it differently.
Yeah, I just don't need that first story at all. Just give me more of what Kyle Higgins and Dan Mora were doing. And honestly,
I mean, if Dan Mora can't commit to the whole thing, just do it as backup stories.
Sure, I'm fine with that. And like, quite honestly,
in Batman,
if you are going to do it this way, put that up front, because if you don't know that that's coming, you might put this comic down.
If there's one thing that always bugged me about Thor, it's the fact that he was a god that could live forever. Well, not anymore. Now he's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's the mortal Thor.
I can't wait to read about his hemorrhoids. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Mortal Thor #1 from Marvel, written by Al Ewing, art by Pasqual Ferry, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, letters by VC's Joe Sabino, cover by Alex Ross. It's 32 pages for $4.99. Here is your solicit. The legend begins. The Norse myths tell of gods who walked the earth doing great deeds for the mortals who believed in them. But Asgard isn't real and never was. The gods never soared in our skies, never stood with our heroes, never fought for kindness or justice. It was all just a story. Nobody's coming to help us, but somewhere in the city, a man is waking up. A man with a hammer named Sigurd. That's something I always appreciate about Al Ewing's series when he launches or ends one. He's always got a lot of stuff in the back matter to say, hey, this is what I was going for. And here's what we're going for moving forward.
Yeah.
In the back matter to this issue, Ewing says that this is the second act of a 3-act story. And he talks a lot about the cyclical nature of myths and storytelling. This is Thor #1. It's also Thor #26 and Thor #787, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's Marvel's fault, not Al Ewing's. So
no, but that's not the point he's trying to make.
Right.
The point he's trying to make is that the legend of Thor and the legends of the Norse gods, they've been told and retold again and again and again for thousands of years. But this is a new tale. In this comic book, there is no Thor. There's just this amnesiac Norwegian, maybe, man named Sigurd Jarlsson. He's not even sure he's Norwegian. Ewing has made tweaks to the history of the Marvel Universe in order to make this story work, because we all know that this guy is Thor. Like, this guy is obviously really Thor, but something has happened to him. He's been reborn, whatever. We don't know.
Or he is this other character that was Thor for a while. While the other Thor is
sure.
We don't know. I mean, that's
let me rephrase then.
Okay.
Let me rephrase. We all know that in the Marvel Universe, the Norse gods are real.
Right.
And so Ewing has made tweaks to the history of the Marvel Universe. For example, the founding member of the Avengers that swings that hammer and has that funky helmet was Beta Ray Bill, which is awesome. People still know about Norse mythology, but they're not walking around like New York City like Hercules is.
Yeah, it's just like
they make a comment like, yo, Hercules is obviously real.
Right.
So, as I said, of course, it's highly likely that Sigurd is or was Thor. He's either been transformed or reborn following the events of the last series. So Sig woke up in an alley at the end of the Immortal Thor #25. And he was basically handed this ready-made identity by a character that is almost certainly Loki in disguise or in another form.
Oh, absolutely.
And Loki is still hanging around. He's now this redheaded little kid calling himself Lucky, not trying to hide his identity in the slightest. He is saying out loud to anybody, it's like, well, I am a creature of myth and legend.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. Magic is real. Anyway, see you later. It's great. I'm so happy to have Pasqual Ferry back on a monthly book. Like, so happy. He draws Sigurd larger than life, even though he is, quote unquote, just a man. This dude towers over everybody. The line art is a lot looser than I remember, but Ferry does a lot of playing around with digital textures and backgrounds. And I thought at first, oh, this is Matt Hollingsworth, but I don't think it is. I think that it's something that Pasqual incorporated into his line art. And it does not always work, but he's taken a swing and I appreciate it. The art is still dynamic. The storytelling's very good. And the dude still swings a mean hammer. I'm giving the Mortal Thor #1 a buy it. Like it, and I did not feel at all lost having not read most of the Immortal Thor.
Fair enough. I read all of the Immortal Thor, and I am willing to admit by this point that I was wrong, and that final issue, The Death of Thor, was good. It was leading to this. I think this storyline is going to be a lot of fun, and Al Ewing is, well, like when all is said and done, this 3-part Al Ewing run, it's going to be pretty friggin' amazing. I didn't have any problems with the art. I thought it looked really good. I think Pasqual Ferry is doing a softer kind of almost animated kind of thing in some pages. I agree, but it works for this story. By the way, if we do translate what he was saying, it is Norwegian, and he's saying, nothing worth watching on TV. I should make breakfast. So there's that. Okay, this was a lot of fun, and I'm willing to admit when I was wrong, and I was wrong about Ewing and his Thor, at least the end of the last one, because we needed to do all that, this big, huge, godly stuff that took some time to get to this. And I think there is going to be something huge with this story. And I'm willing to make a nerd bet on it after I read issue 2. Not yet, but so far I'm really liking it. I'm giving this a buy.
I'll let Mr. Ewing know about your change of heart, Sir Matt. Here are your review comics for the week of Wednesday, the 3rd of September.
Thank you, Macho, and let's start this week with an uplifting, sweet comic book that's sure to make everybody feel better about life, called Everything Dead and Dying #1 from Image. It's written by Tate Bromble, art by Jacob Phillips, colors by Pip Martin, letters by Aditya Bidikar, cover by Phillips, and it's a hell of a cover. It's got a cowboy milking a zombie cow on it. That tells you everything. It's 40 pages for $3.99. Here's your solicit. Everything Dead and Dying follows Jack Chandler, the sole survivor of a zombie apocalypse, hunkered down in his rural farming community. But rather than eliminate them, Jack has chosen to continue living alongside the undead, including the husband and adopted daughter he fought so hard to have. But when his town is discovered by outsiders, Jack suddenly becomes the one thing standing in the way of those who hope to kill his family for good. This is not going to be a happy story at all, but it's also not going to be your run-of-the-mill zombie comic. There's plenty of zombie comics out there. They all want to be The Walking Dead or the next Walking Dead. That's not what Bromble is going for here. He's telling a human story, a very human story about what it is to want to continue what you've got in your life and accepting something as the new normal, so much so that you may have gone insane. Right?
I think there's more to it than that. I think there is that, but I think the idea that these aren't your typical zombies.
Well, there's that as well. Sure. I mean, in the sense,
kind of contributes to that. Like,
yeah. And that's part of the problem, but it's also like, think about what this first off, the character starts with this like very fairy tale, right? Where he's talking to his daughter and she's like, tell me a story, daddy. And it's all about like how I built this farm with my hands and I met your father and people didn't accept us. So we kind of lived up on the hill and kept to ourselves. And then we brought you into our life and you made everything so great. And the art is beautiful. There's these watercolor backgrounds. There's this very kind of realistic art that also like flashes back to sort of like very like green paneled, beautiful flashbacks. It's incredible stuff. It's got like this Sean Phillips kind of feel to it when I look at it. That's how good this art is. But then it makes a change every once in a while as the fairy tale is interrupted by real life and what this character is living in right now, where the colors switch to blood red and pink and lavenders and orange onomatopoeia as he's digging. It's a shunk, like there's something terrible here and they're building towards it. And the main character keeps having this dream. And in the dream that repeats, he sees what his life was like, how hard he worked to get that life. And now he's holding on to the remnants of that life, even though it is a goddamn nightmare. He is literally feeding zombies. He is literally living alongside zombies. And as long as he keeps them fed, they kind of don't mess with him. But
what's he feeding them,
guts. He's feeding them guts. Definitely. I don't know where they're coming from, but it's buckets of gore.
Right, from where?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess maybe they do show him like butchering a cow.
Yeah, I think it's the cows that are also
So it's
dead.
the animals, I guess.
And he says later, I'm running out of cows. My cows are running thin. I don't know what I'm going to do. And these are like zombies from some type of disease. So it's like 28 days later type zombies, right? We know a disease came. We know it affected maybe the majority of humanity, but it didn't affect Jack for some reason. We do get to a point where we meet some other people, and they're the typical all zombies must die. And I got to say, I'm kind of on their side. I'm on the undead should not be walking around side because that's not your daughter. That's not your husband anymore. They are monsters. And this guy has fought so hard for what he's got, he can't let it go. It's just such an interesting take on the zombie, idea, right? As opposed to like, what are they gonna do? All they can do is survive. Like, he's surviving a very different way. And a lot of people are not going to think it's okay. This is not a feel-good comic. This comic is gory as hell, but the art is beautiful, incredible colors. I love what Bromwell is doing with this idea, and I was excited for it. I really like his Batgirl comic. If you're not reading it, you should. He's brought so much humanity to that character who used to have a lot and then was just another Bat character for a long time.
It's a return to form for Cassandra Cain, for sure.
Tate Bromwell is an exciting new writer. I loved this. I'm giving it a huge buy it.
I just want to point out for the record that you said that Jacob Phillips's artwork was almost as good as Sean Phillips's artwork. Sean Phillips is his dad.
Oh, that's right. Well, he learned from a talented guy. Way to go, Dad.
I thought this was very good. And I actually have a slightly different read on the zombies. I think it's not just that he's got them kind of herded and that he's feeding them. We never saw much of the outbreak part of it. So we never heard about like people getting bitten and turned.
Yeah.
People got sick and then they became this, and that's all we know. We do see, scenes here and there of like the daughter lunging at him in hunger, which, but now that she's fed, she's not interested in him at all. These zombies or these creatures, whatever they are,
they're zombies.
But they go through the motions of their former lives.
Sure.
Like the mailman still comes to the door every day. He's still walking his route.
Right.
The husband is still like pretending to make pancakes. People in town, like there's a mother pushing her baby in a stroller in town. Like this is not zombie behavior. And so the idea, like, yes, he's probably being driven crazy because he's alone with these creatures, but they are also acting so different than anyone would ever expect a zombie to act that I can kind of understand how he might think there's hope, even if he doesn't believe it.
Yeah,
right?
no,
he
definitely
doesn't believe that there's hope, but he at some point may have thought this is reversible because people are still acting like themselves.
Right. He's not letting go of his reality no matter what.
Yeah.
So
like the idea that these hunters have showed up now to murder every zombie, I'm like, well, now hold on. Have you guys like actually looked at them, watched them?
Joe,
and so
they're shambling dead mounds that eat
I get
gore.
it. It's going to be hard to
go.
It's going to be hard to come back. Like the husband's neck's all jacked up. It'll be hard.
They're not coming back. They are not coming back. They're dead. Okay.
I'm just saying, I get it. And it's a complicated issue, and it's a way unique take.
Okay, you heard it here
on
first.
The zombie genre.
When the zombie apocalypse comes, push Joe Patrick in front of you and run away.
You won't even have to. There's no way I'm getting away from a zombie, fast or slow. Have you seen me? This is a buy it. It's incredible. It's a wonderful comic.
Okay, before we jump into this next review, I need a clarification. Is this set in Batman continuity or not. Because from what I remember reading about this Batman #1 that's relaunching is don't worry about the continuity. But there's something going on here that definitely comes out of current Batman continuity.
I think you answered your own question.
What? I did? So it is?
Yeah, there's something in this comic that it directly follows previous Batman continuity, which means, ergo, it must be set in Batman continuity.
But they told us it wasn't going to be. That's what I was confused about.
No, I don't think that they did. I think that they said these are going to be done in one stories, and you're not going to need to follow multi-part sagas.
Maybe that's what I mistook.
Standalone superhero action, but that does not mean it's not set in the DCU. So let's get into it. We're talking about Batman #1 from DC. It's written by Matt Fraction with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomu More, letters by Clayton Cowles, cover by Jimenez. It's 36 pages. There it is again for $4.99. I'm going to read a little bit of the, you know what? I'm not going to read any of the solicit because the solicit is all about how cool Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez are, and we already know that. So the biggest question for me coming into this new Batman #1 is how can this Batman #1 exist when Hattush is only 4 chapters in? Don't worry about it, says Matt Fraction. I'm here and I'm ignoring all that shit anyway.
Better yet, don't read Hattush. You'll feel better.
Don't read Hattush. Pretend that Batman, the previous volume of Batman, ended 4 months prior.
And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Hush Part 2 is happening right now. So
Hush Part 2. And you know what? I actually read people online calling it Hattush, and I want to take credit for that.
Fair enough. We did it first.
So to answer Matt's question, yes, this basically follows directly from the end of the Chip Zdarsky run, with Vandal Savage as the commissioner, Gordon back being a beat cop, etc., etc. Fraction amps up the superhero stuff as promised. That was the one thing that he said was going to happen for this run. It's it's going to be all superhero action, standalone stories. Don't worry about following a bunch of stuff. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, check. No notes.
We got
got it.
Yeah, we've got lots of gadgets with fun captions explaining what the gadgets do. I don't know if I should talk about this next bullet point, Matt.
No,
I'm going to.
No, you shouldn't. Because you shouldn't. Okay. Because.
All right. No, you're right.
It so is the thing that you think it is, but it's a very clever way to do this.
I will say this. Something happens early on in this comic, and the internet is convinced it's one thing, but I can find no evidence whatsoever supporting that theory. So once people have a chance to read the book, we'll go spoilers free. But right now, I'm not going to bring it up. It was a curveball. I liked it, but I don't know what's happening. Of course, Fraction also introduces this campy new Gotham gang with a theme, as near as I can tell, they are evil hairdressers because their jean jackets all have a skull with a fabulous head of hair on it, and they are carrying scissors. So I don't know what their deal is. I love Fraction's take on Killer Croc.
Ugh.
He seems to be devolving even further, if that's possible. I loved how the writing broke through Batman's cynical I'm Batman exterior, and there is some genuinely touching stuff in this comic.
Yeah.
Which Batman's scenes with Killer Croc are incredible, and it's not because the fight scenes are awesome.
Well, just imagine when Matt Fraction walked in the editorial room and was like, here's my idea, first issue, Batman, Killer Croc. It's a very touching story, and they have a touching moment, and they really break through to the character of both Batman and Killer Croc. The editors were like, what?
Hey, you're right. But
Killer
when does
Croc.
he punch Killer Croc? I was like, he doesn't. He doesn't.
The Crocodile Man. That's who you're talking about. Okay.
Right. So, yeah, as the story goes, this is fantastic. It's a done in one. They still do seed stuff for the future, like Vandal Savage being the commissioner. That shit's not going to go without some sort of subplot. And so that stuff's percolating. Tim Drake is Bruce's partner for this run. We're going to see more of him soon as that ongoing plot kind of bubbles up. There's an excellent cliffhanger with Tim on the final page. I don't know why he chose Tim instead of Damian. I don't care. I love Tim. So I'm all for it. Jorge Jimenez is an unstoppable art juggernaut. His redesigns for Batman and the Batmobile are phenomenal. His Killer Croc is this toothy, bumpy, mossy, walking nightmare.
Yeah, he's gnarly. It's like Doomsday mouth almost.
And still somehow very sympathetic. The only negative thing I have to say about this issue is that I'm just not in love with Tim's new outfit.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I think it looks great.
It's okay. It's just not my fave. I think
the
Batman redesign is much more successful.
Fair.
This is obviously a huge buy it for me. We've been excited for this for a while. And of course, it was not hard not to be excited when they announced Matt Fraction's taking over Batman. It's just as good as you were expecting, maybe a little bit better. Check this out for sure.
Yep. Fraction, I think, is playing real fast and loose with some continuity stuff, and get over it. This is just a great Batman story. And not to mention the art.
I literally think he's just ignoring the last 4 issues.
Maybe. Well, I don't know.
He's only ignoring the Hush 2 stuff.
Yes, I guess so. Regardless, Jorge Jimenez is so good, and this book looks amazing. And I'm just happy to have Matt Fraction back. This is an absolute buy it. Pick this up. The preview for the KO thing is different story. We'll talk about that
less awesome. It's less awesome. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't excited about it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Everybody freaked out this week because they got hard evidence that we are getting an animated Spider-Man cartoon from Marvel Studios that's going to pick up and right after the old one left off, just like X-Men 97. You know what that evidence was? A comic book called Spider-Man 94 #1. Marvel has not said anything about the cartoon, so settle the fuck down, people. All right?
Settle down, everybody. Now look, I want to believe as well.
I do too.
Settle down.
I'm in, but there has been no announcement. This is just a comic book called Spider-Man 94 #1, set in that world, right? That's all it is. It's from Marvel. It's written
following the conclusion of the animated series.
Right. It's from Marvel. It's written by J.M. DeMatteis, art by Jim Toh, colors by Jim Campbell, letters by Joe Caramagna, and cover by Nick Bradshaw with colors by Rochelle Rosenberg. It is a hell of a cover. I loved it. 32 pages for $3.99. I'm not going to read the solicit. You understand. This is the hit 90s animated series returns. Ba-boom. You want to get my attention? Give me Kane on page 1. I loved it. But this Kane is very different from the Kane that I loved. And I know Kane was around in the old Spider-Man animated series, but I don't fully remember what they were doing with him. Like if it was straight up the Jackal clone Kane, all that shit. There may be something different with this Kane.
Well, we know that the main villain of the book didn't exist when that show ended,
right.
So.
And that's where I'm going with this. So you're not going to feel lost, right? I realize I'm confusing you right off the bat and making it sound like you're going to pick this up and go, what the? Peter does a job where he resets the entire story of how we got here. Matthias reminds you that MJ got sucked into a time dilation vortex and Peter went in to look for her and went through all kinds of horrible shit. That was not in the cartoon, but there's a little editor's box that's like, don't worry, that story is coming. They're incorporating Ezekiel here and some spider totem bullshit that I don't care for that came right out of the J. Michael Straczynski run back in the 2000s. And they're also incorporating a lot of B-list villains that are fun, like Molten Man and Vermin. And look, the old animated series used to do stuff like this all the time. The X-Men series did it too, where they took a huge story and crushed it into 1 episode or 2 episodes and just lifted stuff. So it's not weird that they're doing it. I just don't know that I love the choice of the character and the idea behind like the whole spider totem thing. I don't need to revisit that. That's not one of those stories that like, oh man, let's see the animated version of that, please. Especially this is leading to a brand new day type thing. And the script is just cartoony enough that there's some foreshadowing where like Pete and MJ are just like crazy in love. Of course, it's like, I'm so happy to have you back. Let's get married. And I admit, the way like the big spread page of Spider-Man swinging with Mary Jane by toe, I was like, oh, tickled. I love it. Spider-Man and MJ together again. I miss that so much. Why can't they fucking figure this out in the regular Spider-Man books, So there's heart here and it's fun. But like I said, the dialogue it's a cartoon. So it gets a little cartoonish. And there's a scene where he's like yelling at Kane, who's threatening Peter and his family. And he's like, I won't let you touch MJ. I would sacrifice anything for her. Like, oh, foreshadowing. Like, I wonder what's going on here. So maybe we are moving towards some weird brand new day JMS mashup thing. I don't know. The art is fun. The face work is a little cherubic. Everybody looks very young and has these kind of upturned elvish noses, which is kind of weird. But the action looks great.
Yeah, they do.
The coloring's a little flat, but I think they're trying to go for a cartoon.
I mean, because it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
It's animated.
But the art doesn't lean into that enough. And I think they either needed to go straight up 90s and just be like, fuck it, Brett Booth, come draw this comic. Or go get those guys that worked on the IDW Saturday morning cartoon adaptations of Star Trek and Transformers or whatever and say, hey, just mimic the art style of the animated show. It didn't lean into it quite enough. And that kind of takes you out of that a little bit. And you're sort of just reading a Spider-Man story set in the 90s, I guess. That's kind of weird, This has the cartoony tropes, introduces some ideas that I don't love from the 2000s, but there is a lot of heart. The art is good. I just wish they would have leaned into the animated aspect a little more. I'm happy to see DeMatteis working. He's great. He's one of my favorite writers. I love the guy. But this is a skim it. I wish they would just fully commit to something like this and go, bang. Here it is. It looks just like the animated show, like X-Men 97 did when it picked up, and they did their cartoon version. I had the same complaint when they did the comic book. I was like, this is just like they're trying to do Joe Mad, and they didn't do that in the cartoon, It's a skim it.
The Spider-Man animated series ends on a real fucking weird note.
Yeah.
Because they try to adapt Secret Wars, but they do it in the same way that the X-Men animated series did adaptations, where they take bits and pieces and names from a storyline and then they tell a different story that's bonkers.
Right.
Because how do you tell a story like the Secret Wars in a handful of episodes?
Right.
That thing was a year-long saga. That's
exactly why I think they are going to try and do a take on Brand New Day here.
But the thing that I liked about those animated shows is that they did adaptations in a way that made the stories unique, right? They weren't just doing a retelling of the first appearance of Morbius or that storyline from the 70s. Hey, 90s kids, you all remember that storyline from the Spider-Man comics of the 70s where the Kingpin is obsessed with a tablet that can make him immortal, right?
Sure.
We're going to do that story.
Sure.
And it's just like, okay, sure. And that's kind of how the animated show ended. This is leaning into that a lot, where I can tell just by reading it that they're combining a lot of ideas. The Morlun Ezekiel thing is here, but not in the same way. Kane is here, but he works for Morlun, not for the Jackal. And so they're tweaking elements of the story while trying to come up with this weird explanation to the cliffhanger of the original show. And so editor's note, I guess, X-Men 97, they had that episode where they showed, the world celebrating, right? And they reveal that Spider-Man does find Mary Jane. And so maybe this picks up from that, where it's see, they're happy, they're together. But that's X-Men 97.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Don't worry about it. But then again, like, I love Molten Man. Like, I love obscure Spidey villains, and DeMatteis is the perfect guy to bring them back. So there's a lot to like here, but it's also like weird, and you have to wonder why.
Yeah.
It is a skim it, you know? I do hope that they do a revival show, but if it's not going to be as good as X-Men 97, don't bother.
Right.
Let's wrap up this episode with a little bit of romance.
How about a story coming out of the White House you can feel good about? Huh?
Yeah, there you go. That's nice for a change, right? It's White House Robot Romance #1 from Distillery. This is written by known Canadian dissident Chip Zdarsky, with art by Rachel Stott, colors by Tamra Bonvillain, who had a couple of showings this week. Good job, Tamra. Letters by Ariana Marr. Cover by Stott. It's 48 pages for $8.99. But remember those Distillery books, they biggins.
They're big. They're beautiful. But ICE is going to come take Chip away any day. And it's about goddamn time, right? Coming on.
I know.
Taking our American comic jobs.
Right. Here's your solicit, and I think it's worth reading. When Chef 9 learns that Service 1 is scheduled for immediate decommissioning, he makes an unprecedented choice. Actually, I think it should say they, because the comic refers to them both as they. Yeah. Abandon their station, break protocol, and flee with Service 1 into the streets of Washington, D.C. But what starts as a desperate act of defiance quickly spirals into an international crisis. Service 1's memory banks hold highly classified state secrets, ones that could tilt the balance of power between America and Canada. As paranoia mounts and the military mobilizes, the runaway robots find themselves hunted by government agents and targeted by corporate spies. So, as I said, Chip Zdarsky's back with another piece of pro-Canada propaganda. It's got a near-future setting. It's advanced enough for there to be robots that simulate human personalities, but there's no, like, ray guns or flying cars. It's, like, normal otherwise. There are a lot of moving parts in this comic. There's the love story with the two AIs that are clearly evolving. There's this war that's brewing between the U.S. and Canada. And there's also a conspiracy to take down the corrupt president. And then there's human beings that are caught up in it all, and they are connected to all sides of the conflict. Chip weaves all of this together really, really well. The robots are full of personality. Like, I started to anthropomorphize these robots almost immediately.
Oh yeah,
they're
working. Yeah, they know what they're doing. I mean,
they're two of the most human characters in this comic book.
Well, they also put them in human clothes, right?
Well,
which just
human clothes
seals
from the waist up,
right? Which just like seals the deal. But it's also because it's partially because they work with people, and this makes it easier for people to work with them because they humanize them. But it's also like a device for you and me. Just like when we were talking about anthropomorphic comics, like you will look at the animals in distress and go, "Oh God, that's so awful," you know, like you relate even more, right?
But I mean, I don't think you would have that same feeling towards robots.
I mean, I think you kind of do when they kind of have a smiley face and they wear a tie.
When they're cute looking.
Yeah, when they're cute. One has a chef coat on.
You can tell that there's more going on here than just like weird programming that has unintended consequences. Like, they have human conversations, and at first they use loopholes in the programming to justify them. Like, hey, it's probably okay to gossip because it could be that the president's wife cheating on him is a threat to the president, right, Service 1? And he's like, yep, you're right. Tell me all about it. There is this amazing scene where they reveal their love to one another, which is naturally right when the shit hits the fan. Stott's art is fantastic. I love the robot designs. They're built for function, not to look cool. Now, the upgraded model, Service 1's like superior or whatever, looks cool.
Yeah.
Service 1 looks like a hunk of junk. And the designs match the functions. Like Chef 9 has these huge like wrist things, and that's where all their knives are. And Service 1 has, weird legs for running real well, and that kind of thing. This is a buy it from me. I didn't know really what to expect. It's Chip Zdarsky, so I knew it would at least be worth a look. And I was blown away. I thought it was excellent. Yeah, huge buy it.
It's a beautiful book. This reads like a Love, Death, and Robots chapter that didn't make the Netflix show, or maybe it's just too big for it. I loved this. And Rachel Stott is outstanding. This was so fun because it hits all the notes. It's doing, the West Wing walk and talk stuff with robot diplomacy, and there's a love story, and there's a conspiracy. Like, this is fantastic. I'm giving this a massive buy it.
That is it for our reviews, but we want to know what you thought of these funny books and anything else that you're reading over on our Discord. We talk about new comic books every single day, but on Wednesday we post the new comic book day thread. You go there, you tell us what you read, and you tell us how much you loved it. But before we shift gears to next week, we need to pick one to enter the THN Permanent Collection. Matt, which one's it going to be for you?
The best thing I read this week was the White House robot romance. It's so creative and so ridiculous, and right out of the head of someone like Chip Zdarsky that just does this. I bet he's got 1 billion of these stories that are just going to keep coming. And Distillery just puts out an incredible product. This book looks so sexy. If you're not reading Distillery books, you're missing out. Okay? Take a break on some of your monthly superhero stuff, because not all of it's great right now, and take a chance on something like this.
It's hard to collect Distillery books because where are you going to put them?
Nah, you put them on your bookshelf.
But you can get Distillery books digitally.
You put them on your bookshelf alongside your giant books. That's you know how many omnibuses I have? Those are way bigger. Come
Not
on.
everyone's got that, man. Some people got to keep it contained to short boxes, long boxes. You get it.
Nobody does.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's also White House robot.
Thank you.
Romance for me as well. Sorry, I forgot what we were doing here.
It's all right.
For a minute there, I thought it was going to be Batman, but once we got talking about the Distillery book again, I was reminded just like how much I really, really loved it.
Yeah.
And how unexpected and wonderful and loving and heartfelt it was. It's a slam dunk for the Permanent Collection.
Chip Zdarsky stepping out of Matt Fraction's shadow, telling him to fuck off in front of everybody, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
How do you like me now, Matt Fraction?
Yeah, smoke on that, Fraction. Time to head to the THN Sanctum Sanctorum to make our must-read picks for next Wednesday, September 10th. Joe, the nerds are only going to buy one comic next week. What is it going to be?
My pick for next week is Transformers number 24 from Image Comics and Skybound. It is written by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's got art by Jorge Corona. It's 32 pages for $3.99. I'm going to read you the solicit because it's short and sweet, and it's all you need to know. Optimus Prime versus Megatron. This is it. And the new era of Transformers begins with the most shocking ending to any comic book this year. I'm going to hold you to that, DWJ.
I mean,
I ain't fooling around.
what are they going to do?
You better.
Kill Optimus Prime? They've already torn him in half like 3 times.
I mean, that dude has been through the ringer.
Yeah, he should
So-
not have made it 24 issues.
Why is this my pick? This is the final issue of Daniel Warren Johnson's incredible run, and every single issue has been a can't miss experience.
Yeah, truly.
I am so excited to see how he brings this epic to a close and sets things up for Robert Kirkman, who has a tough fucking act to follow.
I mean, not really. You could just make it boring like Void Rivals and just kind of, shoot it out. So,
I like Void Rivals. I like Void Rivals.
When was the last issue of Void Rivals you read?
I'm current on Void Rivals. I like that series.
Get out of here. My pick for next week is the Undead Iron Fist #1 from Marvel Comics, written by Jason Liu with art by Fran Galan. who worked on Campisi the Dragon Incident. That was the book
We
I
did like that one.
Fran is really good. And we kept singing, whoa, Black Betty, Fran Golan.
Fran
32
Golan,
pages. Yeah. It is $4.99. I'm sure Fran gets that a lot. And I'm sorry. It's like when people say, thebomb.com. Like, that's brilliant. No one's ever said that. Fuck you. Here's your solicit. The Iron Fist rises. The Book of the Iron Fist declares that every Iron Fist will die by the age of 33. But who wrote, created this false prophecy? This is a cut and paste job. So come on, Marvel.
Somebody changed their mind and decided to change it either from wrote to created or created.
And they forgot to take one of them out. Danny Rand was killed, but can you truly kill an immortal Iron Fist? Look, I'm just happy to have Danny back. They made another Iron Fist, and it was a character from a video game on a phone.
Yes, right? Swordmaster.
And no one fucking cared. And I'm not going to get into the whole oh yeah, they're co-opting culture and the Swordmaster was more appropriate. Fine. I don't disagree. But I love Danny Rand. And I love Danny Rand is the Iron Fist. And I love this look of him in the hood. He looks gnarly. I don't know what's going on with him.
I don't know, man. Look, no offense to anybody. I think that this is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen Will Spartaccio draw.
I think it looks really cool.
It is a terrible cover.
I like how scary he looks. Fing Fam Foom's on the cover. I think this looks rad. They're pushing my buttons. Danny Rand is back. I'm happy to have my Iron Fist back. Let's see what you got, Jason Liu. Friend of the show, Jason Liu. We talk shit about his Dazzler. Sorry, man.
Excelsior! Oh.
That's it for TGN 787. If you dig our new comic show, check it out on YouTube. You can see all the previews and covers of stuff we're talking about. You can subscribe to all our shows separately. We got a back issue show. We do a gang hang. Or you can listen to them as podcasts on YouTube Music. And, of course, anywhere you download podcasts. When you do, be sure to subscribe, star, like us, write us a review, all that shit, right? We also feature your fan art in our YouTube episodes. If you got an idea of what the Two-Headed Nerd looks like, send us a picture. We'll put it on YouTube. You'll be famous. It'll be rad.
Next week, the back issue show returns, and the Cosmic Short Box has us reading something we've never read before, a Peacemaker miniseries. We love the show. Yeah, sure. But who is this guy? We're going to find out when we dig into the 1989 Peacemaker miniseries by Paul Kupperberg and Todd Smith. Let me tell you, do not expect the show.
Before I started reading it, I'll be honest, I thought Jack Kirby created the Peacemaker. Didn't know. Didn't know. Look at that helmet. That looks like something Kirby would do, right? Come on.
Yeah, I know. Peacemaker was a Charlton character.
Yeah. Need more THM4 then? Join us for the Gang Hang, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Central. Check out our Discord for details, twoheadednerd.com, Discord. You know how it works. THN is a listener-supported podcast, and it wouldn't be possible without the generosity of donors like our patron, Joey Reynolds. If you support the show, like longtime listener Joey Reynolds, he's been around forever. You can hear this week's extra. He's very young and spry, and he looks great, okay? I'm not calling him old. You can hear this week's extra where we're breaking down the not-so-secret origin of Superboy Prime. He's back, baby! Did we need him back? Who demanded this? Who was like, Superman Prime? Get that shit back in my DC Comics.
I don't know if we needed him back,
yeah. Though. It's time to be a patron over at patreon.com/2headednerd.
Extra shout out to Joe. He actually increased his monthly donation.
Hey, thanks, Joey.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. We love you. We appreciate you. Before we go, our weekly shout out goes to our longtime patron and THN fan artist, Mike Tisserand, who has partnered with none other than friend of the show, Jeremy Hahn, for a brand new horror comic called Murder Podcast for Ignition Press, which is out next week.
All right.
I had no idea that Mike Tisserand did comic book work. I did find out that he was a fancy pants animator and storyboard artist, and he's actually worked on many popular Hollywood properties that you have heard of.
Nice.
But now the dude is drawing comics.
Now he's slumming with Jeremy Hahn doing comics? Like, what are you doing?
I can't believe he ever gave the time of day to the likes of us. Murder Podcast revolves around a mysterious show that appears on people's phones out of nowhere, and it causes its listeners to fly into an unstoppable, murderous rage.
Whoa, Jesus.
Sounds amazing. Of course, there's a group of youths that are trying to solve the case.
It's always the youths.
It sounds like a great time. Word to you, buddy. If you've never seen Mike's art, it is incredible.
He's
Check
exceptional.
him out on Instagram.
He's exceptional.
Thank you for wasting your considerable talents on a couple of dumb jamokes like us.
Jeremy Hunn's no slouch either, though. He's really good, too.
No, but he's been leaning more into the writing.
He's been writing a lot, yeah. And he's a good writer.
A lot lately.
He's a good writer. Until next time.
He is, yeah.
True believers, remember to pre-order your comics or your retailer might just fly into a murderous rage and kill you. This is the Two-Headed Nerd. Signing off. Times are tough. That shit happens.
So violent.